Hey everyone, it's Denise Brown from the Caregiving Years Training Academy. Thank you so much for your interest in our training programs. I'm going to give you an overview today with hopes that the information I share will help you figure out if our programs help meet your goals. And also, I think it helps to talk out what goals you have and where you want to go with those goals. So, I started talking about my work with family caregivers in a way that I thought was really helpful. And it was when I started doing presentations for professionals around caregiving issues. So I would be delivering a CEU event for social workers or nurses, and I would explain that I'm in the business of preventing regrets. Because I truly believe when we're working with family caregivers, that's our goal, is to prevent regrets. But the reality is, I don't want to be a business of one. I want to be a part of a movement of many. And that's where the training programs and you come into play. The goal is that I hope there's a training program that helps you figure out how you want to work with family caregivers so you can join our movement of really being in support of family caregivers. So when their experience ends, they have minimal regrets. We can't eliminate regrets, but I think we can have caregivers at the end of their experience with peace of mind. And that's the goal. If we can prevent regrets, we can increase peace of mind. And that's what we want. When caregiving ends, it's really a lot to start over. And if you are weighed down by regrets, it's that much harder. So our work is around putting family caregivers in a place at the end of caregiving where they can transition into the next stage of their life without the burden of regrets. And I want you to be a part of this movement with me. We know that a caregiving experience is a painful one. When you're caring for a family member, you feel what hurts them, and then you hurt because of the losses you're experiencing. When you're working with family caregivers, it's important to know how to be with someone in pain. And I learned how to do this because I've been sitting with family caregivers and their pain since 1990. It's incredibly important that a family caregiver connects with a professional who is not about rescuing them or fixing them, but instead is about understanding them. Family caregivers in particular experience the shoulding all the time. People will say, you know what you should do? You know what you should try? A caregiving experience is complicated, it's complex, it's painful. If we could do those shoulding things, we would, but it's hard because it's so complicated and complex, which is why I teach how to show up and be that supportive presence that really focuses on understanding that family caregiver's particular situation. And I teach that in our courses. So I just wanted to share some research that came out recently from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And it really talks about the crisis that we're at with family caregivers in terms of their mental health. 2/3 of survey respondents who identified as family caregivers said they experienced mental health challenges during the pandemic. Now, this is not a surprise, and I would say it probably speaks to an experience before the pandemic. It just got worse. And when you're in a tough place, people scatter. It's hard to find a friend who will sit with you when you are in pain. And oftentimes people feel so uncomfortable with that pain, they don't know what to say and they can't fix it, so they disappear. But we know that our work is not about fixing, it's about understanding. We understand. And when you've had that personal caregiving experience, you bring in insights into a work with family caregivers that's invaluable. When you get it and you use the communication strategies that I teach, you are meeting a family caregiver where they are and then working together to create this safe space. So they tell you what's happening, and then together you brainstorm. The family caregiver knows the answer. It's just that their stress is too high for them to hear it. And we create that space where they can hear the answers. And I learned how to do this during life coach training that I took in 2004. It was a great program. I left with all these tools and techniques and strategies. And then I used one with family caregivers, because family caregivers are not the typical coaching client. Oftentimes, a life coach will work with someone to find the next career path or lose weight or change habits. Family caregivers are looking to get to the next day. And so the kind of support that they need is very different than someone who just needs to change a job. Not to say that that's not hard, but it's very different. And that's why I use this particular communication strategy, which is asking, validating, and listening. And that's what I teach in the consultant training program, which I consider to be our premier training. So family caregivers need our work. They need our movement. They need to connect to another who has been trained to be present with their pain, who arrives in a client's session curious about what that family caregiver is experiencing rather than judgmental. The other thing that I teach is how you show up and feel confident that you are doing enough in your work. So, this whole idea of am I enough is what just chases us during a caregiving experience. Was I patient enough? Did I do enough? Was I kind enough? Did I ask the right questions? Did I do enough to prevent? Those are the questions that just get to us during our caregiving experience and lead us down that path of deciding, you know what, I didn't do enough. And that leads us to regrets. And that's why our work is so powerful, because we reframe that. But as consultants, individuals working with family caregivers, we can also start to say, did I do enough? And I teach you how to know you are doing enough. And that way, you don't burn out from working with family caregivers. So I've been in a position where I've been talking to family caregivers for 31 years, pretty much every day. And I'm not burnt out from it because I know how to stay fully present with them and believe in the work. And I teach you that work. So our solutions are really around the right resource at the right time. And in order to add that right resource, we have to be there and stay curious about the experience that that individual person is going through. We understand that every experience is different, and I teach you how to look at that and how to know that during the consultant training. We are understanding and compassionate because we know that's what helps another relieve the stress that they're experiencing. In essence, what you learn in our consultant training is how to have really effective conversations. And in the facilitator training, which is for support group leaders, you'll learn how to nurture a conversation that a group has. In addition, I have created these really simple tools, but yet are very profound. And they're profound because they give words to family caregivers. Oftentimes during a caregiving experience, we are just witnessing what we just cannot imagine, and we lose the words to describe what we're experiencing. These tools, which are wheels, have 8 words on them, and they are 8 words that resonate with family caregivers. And when they see these words, they start to share because they feel understood and they feel like, oh my gosh, that's the word I feel. I've been using these tools since I developed them in 2018, and I use them with people I know and people I don't know, and it's the same impact. In a Zoom meeting, I'll pull up a wheel, conversation starts because there's a word on the wheel that resonates with what a family caregiver is experiencing. That saves time. And if a family caregiver can save time, that's invaluable, because our doubts keep us up at night, our worries wake us up at night, but we are always chasing time. And if we can save that family caregiver time by helping them immediately describe what's going on, that's invaluable. So we've been doing events to support family caregivers for years. And just recently, we decided to do a deeper dive into the stats around what's the impact of our events. And in particular, when we do a family emergency planning session, attendees say that they are highly likely to recommend that program to a colleague. We know that our programs work. And when you take the consultant training and the facilitator training, you have these resources available that you can use. So you don't have to wonder, if I create something, will it work? We have created it and it works. So you can feel confident in using what we've created. So I like to create opportunities. So my work with family caregivers has been about creating opportunities for them. So I hosted a national caregiving conference for 4 years between 2016 and 2019. And the presenters at this conference were family caregivers and former family caregivers. They delivered the keynote. They led the breakout sessions. They have an expertise. And if there's a conference around caregiving, it's the experts that need to deliver the presentations, and that's family caregivers. In addition, I like to create opportunities for family caregivers after their experience ends, like these training programs. And then I also like to create opportunities for the training program participants. So just recently, I sent a pitch to the Wall Street Journal about our work, and they were able to feature one of our program grads in the article that came out. It happened with oprahmag.com. 3 of our certified caregiving consultants were featured in an article about caregiving at the start of the pandemic. So I have relationships with reporters, but I like reporters to connect with the program grads. I like to have them featured because their work is invaluable. So just a little bit about me. So I founded a website that was one of the first online caregiving communities in 1996. And I started a small business after I'd been working with family caregivers for almost 5 years. So my experience goes back to about 1990. The first training program was launched in January of 2016, and that was our certified caregiving consultant training. And I also currently help my parents who are 89 and 86. I started helping after my dad's bladder cancer diagnosis in 2004. So I've been helping my dad since 2004, and my mom became critically ill in 2015. So helping both of them since then. So I just like to just add a little bit of a description around who's right for the training programs. So sometimes people confuse what we do with training for a certified nursing assistant or a home health aide, and that's not the programs that we teach. In addition, our programs are about the caregiving experience. They aren't about a specific disease process. The caregiving experience is something that I've studied since 1990. And so I have this understanding of the experience and I teach that. I teach the insights that I've gained. We do have some support for starting a small business through one of our options with our consultant training, but we don't do a lot of support if you really want to learn the logistics of how to start a business. There's great resources in your community to do this, including the Small Business Administration. So our training programs are really for anyone who has a personal caregiving experience or anyone who's spent time working with family caregivers or anyone who is going to connect with family caregivers, because we're about helping that particular individual during and after their caregiving experience. Our training programs are right if you want to be a volunteer, like as a volunteer support group leader, or if you really plan on becoming a small business owner and you want to add consulting services and presentations to your business. So I think of us as specialists in the practice of family caregiving, because that's what we do. So currently we have CCCs in 4 countries. We've had CCCs in 5 countries at one time. And then we've enrolled more than 250 individuals in our program since its inception. So there's different ways that we can help you in your work with family caregivers. We may help you make a difference, and that could be through leading support groups or adding services to a small business. We have a variety of training programs that I hope meet you where you are in terms of investment of time and money. We have a variety of master classes which take a deeper dive into a particular part of the caregiving experience. Our advocate training is our first level of training. It's 1 hour and it's $30. Our facilitator training is for support group leaders. That is 4 hours live plus additional requirements for certification. Takes about 7 or 8 hours in total. Our specialist program is for those who are currently in a caregiving experience. They want to do something on the side, make a little bit of money. A specialist is basically a virtual assistant for family caregivers that helps them with scheduling and tasks. Our consultant training is really the life coach training to work with family caregivers. And then the educator training is the step up from the consultant training. So in order to become an educator and deliver my premier presentation program that stages the caregiving experience, you do need to complete the consultant training. I just want to tell you a little bit about how I have improved the training programs over the years. So in 2008, I updated our training material in the consultant training, and that's when we added our tools, those wheels that facilitators can use with support groups and consultants can use in one-on-one sessions with clients and in workshops and during presentations as well. And that's one of the wheels. There's probably about 45, 46 different wheels, which sounds like, oh my gosh, how could there be that many wheels? But I really got specific about situations that family caregivers encounter. So there's a wheel around a situation or an emotion or a challenge. And again, it's to spark the conversation. It's to help the family caregiver really feel like, okay, what I need is faith. I've lost faith. Then in 2019, we added additional training programs, and that's the advocate, facilitator, and specialist. And then we enhanced the consultant training with additional educational opportunities. So I am a productive person. So in our gold level of the consultant training, you receive time management help. I help you make the most of your time. And then we have a marketing boot camp where you get really specific about your marketing plan and your messaging. How do you go out into the world and talk about your work? So I added master classes, the first 2 master classes in 2020, and then we moved our certification program to a service called Accredible, which makes it much easier for you to share your certificates and your certification on LinkedIn in particular. I updated our training material for the consultant training again in 2020. So I really focus on making sure it's relevant and timely. And then we have mentors in our silver and gold level of the training program for the consultants. And we added case management to those 2 levels. So we have a certified caregiving consultant, Jessica, who's a nurse and a case manager. And so she teaches training program participants about case management. So that's another service you can offer as a consultant. We also added a module on cultural sensitivity to ensure that we're working with our clients in a respectful manner and that we are open-minded about our own biases in terms of who we work with. And then we also added the family emergency planning tool, which is this spectacular offering consultants can offer to anyone, because the reality is everyone needs a family emergency plan. And then we added a few other service offerings in 2020. So it's about helping consultants offer a service. Now you pick a niche as a consultant, and then you create programming and offerings based on that. But I help you by giving you some suggestions. Healing listeners really speak to hearing the story of family caregivers and being present to receive the story. Legacy listeners are about after a caregiving has ended, giving that former family caregiver the opportunity to tell their story and to share memories of their carees. And then we learned a lot about resilience over the past year. So we have resilience reflections. And I teach a certain way to communicate, to tell a client when you hear how they are resilient, just to have them hear you, in essence, almost as a witness that you really are resilient. And then this year, I added 3 more master classes, as well as a program called Our Daily Healing Plan. And you can watch that. I think there is a recording that's available because I offered this during one of our special events, Healing Around the Holidays. And on our YouTube channel, you probably can watch a smaller version of that. And it's this process I developed about how we can create a healing plan for every day. And it's basically just naming it. And it's naming what we're healing through. So we could be healing through missing an experience or a situation. And then we think about, okay, I'm missing something. What's going to help me manage what I'm missing? And it could be, okay, I'm going to manage this by taking a walk. And then we think, okay, because I'm taking a walk, what's my goal? Where do I want to go with this? So we can put it all together by saying, I'm healing from missing my mom this holiday and baking cookies with her. So I'm going to take a walk. And as I walk, I'm going to think of her because I want to connect to her memory so that I can feel peaceful about her memory. So the healing process is this 3-step, really fill in the blank sentence. And the presentation that you get as an educator walks people through this. It's really quite powerful because it's something that you can take into your day and feel like, oh, I can use this. And then you realize that you have more strategies available to help you heal than you really thought you did because you're focused on what helps me when I'm hurting. We also created this really helpful 8-question assessment, and it's a wheel basically, but it really focuses on well-being. And it's an 8-question assessment about how a family caregiver or former family caregiver is doing right now. And then we created a 3-session package, which is a family emergency plan, a 4-minute story, and then the 8-question assessment. That totals about 2 hours that you would work with a client. And that package is really powerful. And if a client says, this was great, I don't have a need for you right now, then it's a reminder that, okay, well, let's check in and see how you're doing with your family emergency plan in 6 months. How do you feel if I send you an email just to check in 6 months? So it's a way to establish the relationship with the client and then keep in touch with them because you know the client is going to need you. And when there's a crisis, you want that client to say, if only I had, oh, I do have someone I can reach out to for help. I will reach out to Denise. So we're going to actually separate our training from our certification. So I'm in the process of launching a nonprofit, and that nonprofit will be in charge of the certification. I will continue to do the training, and then others will help with the certification. In addition, we're going to have an advisory board so that consultants are available to be hired by startups or other organizations who are servicing or offering a product for family caregivers. And so the consultants can add their expertise during the startup phase of the product launch. So I'd mentioned that there's different levels of training for the consultant. There are 3. It's bronze, silver, and gold. And bronze, I really feel is appropriate if you already have a small business. you're a financial planner, for instance, and you just think, you know what, I need to be able to talk to my clients in a caregiving experience and add something like a family emergency plan. The bronze level would be perfect for a financial planner, elder law attorney. If you're interested in starting a small business and you want more support around that experience, our silver and gold levels would be appropriate. And in the silver and gold levels, you also connect to our mentors, and they are certified caregiving consultants who also help you with skills and marketing, networking, and other insights about the caregiving experience, including case management. So if you're a nurse, certified dementia practitioner, or a certified senior advisor, we do have approval to offer you CEUs. And I'm in Illinois, and I work with a CEU provider in Illinois. So if you're a healthcare professional in Illinois, you also qualify for CEUs. In addition, we've been approved from the case management organization to offer CEUs as well. So you might think, why would I want to be certified? I just think it's so important to invest in the training because you're going to feel so much more confident and comfortable around your skills, your expertise, and your offerings. In addition, you have an accountability to us. We do have pledges, goals, and beliefs around our work, and that's important. And I also believe it separates you from the competition. In particular, this communication strategy that I teach makes you invaluable because it is unique. Oftentimes, family caregivers connect with a professional who tells them what to do and tells them what they should do. And we really take the time to engage in a conversation. And it seems like that takes too much time, but I'm telling you, the way we have conversations saves time. And then you take advantage of this expertise that I've really cultivated over the past 30 years. And my commitment to really offering tools that I know work and services that I know make a difference. We have this really great community of certified caregiving consultants that meet every month. And we connect to share and give updates and to keep everybody up to date on skills. It's been very helpful as a collaborative community. We are not in competition with each other. We are in collaborative space, wishing each other well and looking for opportunities to work together. So thinking about who's qualified to take these programs, it's really if you have a caregiving experience or work with family caregivers. We also ask that you are compassionate, open-minded, and curious. And if you've been in a caregiving experience, that you have peace about it. So, well, you know, this is hard work, but it was really hard work for me when I was doing it by myself 25 years ago. It is so much better to do it in a company of people who share your passion and who want you to be successful. That's what I think is so important about going through the training program, because the training program is great, but the community is great too. And just quickly, I just want to mention that I organize events on a regular basis, and consultants and facilitators and specialists have an opportunity to present. So it's a way to kind of get your feet wet in delivering workshops and presentations so that you can go out on your own and deliver workshops and presentations. And then just quickly, people like what we're doing. And then we've had several successes, including our consultants becoming influencers hired by brands to manage a social media campaign or spread the word about a particular product or service. And I had mentioned our media, so there's more on the website you can look at as well. So currently, I really believe libraries are an overlooked resource for family caregivers. So I've started a library project, working with libraries for them to add resources right now initially on their website. And we're also in the midst of a couple pilot programs. So there's always something new that you can get involved with. And I think that's so energizing that there's always something that connects you to the reason why you're passionate about this work, and to know that you don't have to do it by yourself. Okay, so that's it. That's the overview. I did it. Oh my gosh, I did it in 30 minutes. I was trying so hard. Okay. So, what questions might you have?
I don't have, I mean, I kind of have to take all that in. I liked a lot of what you said, which is why I did, the deeper dive after I read things and looked at it. And what I like is there's some similarities to where your things are headed the same as the doula. It's out there. It's not a regulated thing, and we don't necessarily need it regulated, but we need support. We need, these critical services. One of the things they teach us in the class is the doula, you're a generalist, right? And you're not a medical person. You're the bridge between the medical and the family needs, and trying, and the one thing you said that struck me more than anything else that they teach is when you are doing and working with the empathetic listening skills, is that yes, they generally always have the correct answer. It's just how do we help them get there? So that was fascinating to me, that it's, very, very much dovetails what I've been studying and what intrigued me along those lines. And like I said, trying to figure out where I'm going with all that. So maybe tell me a little bit more. So I was taking notes as I was going, and I know it's on the website, because one thing that struck me like crazy was when I was, sort of trying to figure out where I was, things I might offer. I had considered something like along a family emergency, because that's the problem, is everybody needs help because they haven't had these conversations, right? So without giving your source away, that's like a one-on-one kind of session you do, or?
So, we've been doing it actually for free as a group.
Oh, okay.
However, we do it as a lead generating activity.
That's what I figured.
So I'm the host, and I have a couple certified caregiving consultants who help me. We meet for 50 minutes. The first 10 minutes, I really set the stage for what the attendees can really get from the program. And then we break out into small groups. And during those small groups, the consultants lead the conversation. We want them to start a planning process. And then if they need more support around their specific plan, they can schedule a follow-up 30-minute session with a consultant. As a consultant, you can offer this in a variety of ways. You could do something similar. You could just do it for 30 minutes for free, just to give people a taste of what that's like, to get them involved in a planning process that's not overwhelming and intimidating. Because I think sometimes people are like, I can't do this, I can't think about it, and they just run away screaming. So when they connect to someone who's supportive and understanding and really is there to, let's think this out, it's helpful. And then you could invite people to schedule a 50-minute session with you that's one-on-one. A couple of our consultants have been doing it one-on-one, and then one has been doing them with a family unit as well. So for instance, I have 4 siblings, but only 3 are involved. So I could have a consultant lead the 4 of us through a family emergency planning session. So the 4 of us are all on the same page. We decide where the important information is kept, who needs to do what if something happens. It's just really helpful to think about it. And when we talk about family emergency plans, we think about it as important information, products that can help, and then actual like strategies that you can implement. So we think about it from a variety of perspectives. It really puts people into action.
Right. Yeah, I like that. That was, like I said, one of the things I had when I was trying to say, what do I not see that's out there, and what's a solution for people? So that was interesting. That struck a chord with me. And also too, when you're talking about, I guess, another thing, I've been involved with a Bible study for a long time of women that are older than myself. And these are smart women of financial means, have family support. And when they have to do things, the word they always say is it's overwhelming, because we've got this internet with too much information. And where do we start? You stop because you get overwhelmed. So that, like when you said that's another one that strikes a chord with me. This just, it's paralyzing to those individuals.
Yes.
But they still need to do it. So how do we move them forward?
Right. Yes. And so what I found about these wheels, they have these 8 words, but it helps you figure out where to start. The wheels came from this idea that I had that, we probably should think about what's our assessment tool. And I actually went through a training program to offer an assessment tool to the consultants. And I did not like it because it was closed-ended questions. And it drove me nuts. And our experience as family caregivers is we're in a system of closed-ended questions. And we never have an opportunity to open up and tell our story. So I wanted to create something like an assessment that helped us tell the story. And so that's where the wheels came from. And really, it's just borrowing my life right now. That first wheel is actually very similar to a coaching tool, which is a wheel. And so I just borrowed that idea, and then I just kept going because I kept thinking, oh my gosh, we could use it in these situations. So the planning tool includes different wheels for different parts of the plan.
Okay.
The other thing that happened is the consultants would say to me, but how do we get people to start talking to us? And how do we show them what we do? So if we talk about the fact that we manage an effective conversation, that feels a little intangible. What is it that we do?
Right.
And so these wheels became an example of what we do. And then it became an opportunity then for the consultants to feel confident that they had a tool that would open up the conversation. These tools are helpful in marketing activities. So I use them on social media. I'll just post a wheel and say, what do you want to ask today? Because there's an ask wheel. So it's interesting to think about how you can start the conversation in different ways, one-on-one, virtual, as well as on social media.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of hit all my questions. Like I said, I've just been doing a deep dive on research, and then saw that article this week and just went further and further, and was very intrigued with your information. It was very clear, and it's definitely hit areas that I'm looking at. So I need to relook at that and sort of think about where I'm going. I've just sort of been in a holding pattern, and like I said, trying to figure out one of the struggles with the doula is living in North Carolina and sort of be in the heart of the Bible Belt. And that's just a phrase that people are not necessarily readily comfortable with yet. You know what I mean? Like they're just not, that's one of those newer things that I think there's been more writing about it, because certainly people are familiar with having a birth doula, but it's the similar thing. So it's kind of just like I said, trying to piece all that together and where to take those skills. So the listen to your marketing portion has helped me, think about how to angle what I liked and what I learned with that. So, yeah.
I'll tell you what, you're smart to recognize what will resonate with people and what people are ready to hear, which is really marketing. It's really thinking about what are the words that people are ready to hear and that are relevant in their lives. So you actually get to call yourself whatever you'd like to call yourself. That's the beauty of it. So you took training, but you can call yourself what it is that in your particular area will connect you with people.
Right. And like you said, I do appreciate, like you talked about all the different stages. So there's certainly the caregiver, but there is I've told people what I just took this class and I'm certified to do that. And it's either a complete, conversation stopper, like why in the world would that interest you? Or I get their life story about things, which is great because I do have, that's why I know I have that skill set, because they're fascinated and they have this need to still, express what happened during, with their caregiving experience. So I know that there's a field for it. I just couldn't figure out how in the world to really put it out there. So that was very helpful. So I will do some more looking and researching and sort of figuring out where I want to go with all that. So,
Okay. And hold on for just a minute. I'm just
Okay.
going to stop the recording and thank everybody who's watching. Thank our viewers. Thank you so much for being here.